Hi, this is Tom, amateur reader call sign N8FDY, and today we're going to do a 50 and 60,000 count meter summary. These are all the 50 and 60,000 count meters that I've reviewed. We will start out with the EEV blog Bryman BM786, the Bryman BM789, the Bryman BM869S, the EEV blog 121GW, the Greenlee DM860A, the Unity UT181A, the Fluke 189, and the Fluke 289. We will perform a few measurements just to let you see how the meters act together. There's a written review and a video for each one of these meters that you can find on my channel. And there will be a written summary that will have a link in the description of this video. Let's start with some DC voltage measurements. I got this little voltage reference off of Amazon. I measured the voltage reference with my Keithley DMM 6500, which has been recently calibrated. And I wrote the values on these little stickers so I remember them. That's how we're going to get these voltages. The first voltage is 2.5005, which was read on the Keithley, and you can see what these guys do. Two Brymans on the left come up with the same value, and they're pretty much the same model meter. One has a little less features than the other. The higher price Bryman is pretty close, but it does change a little bit. The EV blog reads a little higher, and the rebranded Bryman from Greenlee reads a little higher. The Unity is very close at 2.5006. And the old 189 from Fluke is reading a little low. And the 289 from Fluke is reading that just a itsy bitsy low. It's kind of like the closest guys seem to be the Unity and the 289. This is 5.0009 volts as measured on the Keithley. And now let's see what these guys did. Okay, well, the two Brymans on the end are a little high. One's a little less than the other. And then the more expensive Bryman is a little higher. The EV blog 121GW is even higher. And the rebranded Bryman that's from Greenlee is even higher. Again, we got the Unity, which is pretty close. We have the 187, which is lower. And we have the 289, which is lower. So, let's see. This is 3 away. That's like 6 away. So that's... so it looks like the Unity wins again. It is interesting because all these meters meet their specification with these voltages, but it is interesting how they can still be different. Here's 7.5016. Two Brymans on the left are identical. The more expensive Bryman is a little lower. The EV blog is about the same as the expensive Bryman. The rebranded Bryman is just a little higher. The Unity is much closer at 02, because this is 001. 189 is pretty close. And the 789 is very close. It does seem like the more expensive the meter, the closer it gets. At least it does on those top three. Here is 10.0015 as measured by the Keithley. The EV blog Bryman is a little high. The 789 is a little high. More expensive Bryman's just a tad bit high. and it's the same as the EV blog. The rebranded Bryman, the Greenlee, is definitely shows higher. Okay, the unity is, it's pretty good, pretty close. 0015 would round up to 02. So you have to give him that. The Fluke 189 is a little bit low. And let's say the Fluke 289 is pretty much there. It depends on how you want to do your rounding, where they rounded down and the Unity rounded up. So again, the Unity and the 289 are still the closest. And again, that's closest to what the Keithley reads. Since I don't have an absolute voltage standard, I can't really be sure what the true voltage is. But we just go by what the most expensive meters say. And that's essentially what we're doing. 1.0414 millivolts. And let's see what these guys say. Well, for the rest of these tests, instead of me describing the values on the meter, to save a little time, I'll let you look on the screen and we'll speed this up a little bit. So here's 10.0086 millivolts, according to the Keithley. Here's 25.0425. Here is 50.0338, according to the Keithley. So this is 100.0225. Here's 250 millivolts. It's actually 250.021. Eight. 500.028. All right. Now we got to go back up to volts. It is interesting that the 189, which is years and years old, I think it was discontinued 16 years ago, it can read 1 volt in the millivolt range, but the other ones can't. According to the Keithley, this is 1.000014. Now we're going to show some currents. Here's 0.89670. Here's 9.21 microamps. Here's 99.0 microamps. Here's 131.8 microamps. Here is 1 milliamp. You're definitely not as accurate on the current ranges than the voltage ranges. Here's 9.98 milliamps. We're not going to individually go through the resistance and capacitance because we did that in the reviews and it takes a long time. So if you're interested, look up each one of the reviews on the channel. Let's take a look at the accuracy specifications for voltage and current. Well, we take these meters and compare them, and you see that the green is the highest specification for that range, and the yellow is the lowest, and the rest is all in between. You'll also notice that some of the meter names are in red. That means that they missed one of their specifications, one or more. So the Greenlee missed, Unity, and the Fluke. Now, should you hold that against them? Well, not really, because it's a one-off thing. It's my meters, not more than 1 meter showed this, so we'll see. In the case of the Greenlee, the one reading was like 100 millivolts off, but it still was off, so I count that as not meeting the specification. So, as you can see, for DC voltage, the Brymans are the winners. The BM869S and the Greenlee, which is really a rebranded Bryman, the DM860A. They have the highest, most stringent specifications for the DC voltages. You will notice, though, that for the high voltage, the Fluke 289, but of course it has the best specification, but it missed one, as you can see by the little red writing. It missed one of the voltages. Again, it was off by only, it was under 100 millivolts, but it was still off, so I had to count it against them. But coincidentally, the EV blog 121GW has the best AC voltage specification. As you can see by the yellow, it mostly has the worst specifications in most things, except for the AC. And for the DC current, the Fluke 289 seems to have the best specifications of the group. And for the AC, again, it's the Greenlee and the Bryman. So if you're going to buy a meter just on accuracy specifications, you would get the Bryman BM869S, or you'd get the Greenlee DM860A. Of course, there's other reasons to pick a meter, but I just wanted to take a look at these. Now let's take a look at the accuracy specifications for the resistance and capacitance. And again, the green is the highest, yellow is the lowest in the group, and we already talked about what the red means. So it sure looks like the Unity UT181A and the Fluke 189 dominate the resistance accuracy. And again, the poor 121GW is the lowest accuracy in those areas. But in capacitance, it's certainly spread out. We got the Brymans do a couple of ranges. The EV blog does one that's it's the top of, and then the two flukes are the top at the high end. So it's kind of spread all over. Luckily, if you really want to measure accurate capacitance, you could get a LCR meter. But generally use a multimeter to quickly check capacitor to see if it's really the right value, and if it's, bad ones are pretty off on the value. So they should be sufficient for troubleshooting capacitors anyway. Let me give you the short summary of this. The EEV blog Bryman BM786, which at the last time I checked the price and converted it to dollars, it was $145.14 at the EEV blog store in Australia. You can also buy it on Amazon, and it's about, I think, $200 on Amazon. But I would say go with the Australia store, the EEV blog store. The advantages of this meter is it's the lowest cost in the group, and all measurements taken met the specifications as stated in the manual. The downside is it has the lowest frequency for the 3 dB cutoff for AC voltage, and there's no data logging at all. But it is definitely a good entry-level high count meter. So if you want a nice high count meter, it's pretty compact. I'd say this is your lowest cost 50,000 count meter to get started with, and it's okay. I'm not keeping it. Now take a look at the Bryman BM789. At the time I checked the price, it was $170.34 after you converted the euro to dollars, and I got it from W Electron in Germany, because you can't buy Bryman meters in the U.S. from anybody, only rebranded ones. It had one of the best DC microamp accuracy specifications, had one of the best low microfarad accuracy specifications, had the worst AC volts accuracy specification, and the worst AC plus DC volts accuracy specification. So it's a good entry-level high-count meter, especially if you need dB measurements, which most people don't, but if you do a lot of professional audio work, you might. Now we'll look at the Bryman BM869S. The current price, last time I looked, was $206.60, and that is after you converted the euros to dollars. And again, from W Electron in Germany. Again, you can't get the Brymans in the U.S. It had the leading accuracy specifications in more categories than the other meters in this group. Has a dual display with a bright backlight. The backlight stays on for about 4 minutes and 16 seconds, I think. And that's not long enough for me. I find it annoying, but for most people, I'm sure that's fine. And there's no way to deactivate the auto backlight off. You can activate the auto power off, but that doesn't affect the backlight. The USB PC interface is an extra cost option, and again, you can't get it in the US, so you got to get it from EU or Asia. And there's no Bluetooth support. But this, for accuracy and amount of things it measures, and it's the most cost-effective high-performance meter that I can recommend to people. And, you can either get this one or you can get the Greenlee equivalent, which we'll talk about later. For some strange reason, because of the way the backlight turns off so fast, and the way I have to turn it on, it just annoys me, so I'm selling this one too. Now we come to the EV Blog 121GW. Last time I checked its price, and I converted it from Australian dollars to US dollars, it was $212.69. And I bought mine from the EV Blog store in Australia, and it was no problem. Good shipping. It's surprising how fast they can get here. It only took, I think, 5 days. And so it has the most stringent accuracy specifications for AC volts of all the meters in this group. So that was a standout. The other standout is it has a built-in SD card and built-in Bluetooth. Neither are extra cost options, which work with the logging. So you can do standalone logging with the SD card. And the SD card is accessible from the battery compartment. So I think that's a very unique feature. And for me, that's what makes me want to keep this meter. And the Bluetooth software worked on the iPhone, and it also worked on my iMac. It did not work on my PC. Now, it could have been my fault because I don't really use Bluetooth that much on the PC. It's just a gaming PC. I do all the real work on the Macintoshes. But still, I give it credit because there is that software out there, and there is the SD card, so you could just, no matter what, you can save the data standalone and then load it onto your PC. The only downside really was that the pretty much the lowest accuracy specifications on most of the ranges than the other meters in this group. And the other downside was it only measures up to 600 volts DC. And if you mess with your good old boat anchors with all that tube stuff, you might need more than 600 volts, especially if you get into a power amplifier, and the guys go up pretty high. But you might be able to get a times 10 or times 100 adapter to work with it. But still, it would have been nice if it went up to 1,000 volts like most of these meters. But if you're doing all transistor-related stuff, it's not going to be a problem. Basically, the 121GW has everything and more. All these features it has, and the measures it can make, and the unique way it can do volt and current in a certain way at the same time. The only thing it doesn't have is stringent accuracy specifications. And I like the size of the meter, and I like the way you can set the options in the setup mode, so I don't have to hold and press a button and turn it on to make the auto power off go away. And I don't have to fool around with other buttons to make the backlight auto off go away. So this has a lot of good creature comforts. And so I'm keeping this. Now I come to the Greenlee DM860A. And this was $346.44 at the electrician shop the last time I checked the price. So it is a little more expensive, but it comes with the Greenlee limited lifetime warranty. It has the leading accuracy specifications, just like the Bryman that we looked at earlier. It also has the dual display with bright backlight, which we looked at earlier. The USB PC interface is also an extra cost option with this guy, and it costs about double what it costs from Bryman. And there's no Bluetooth support, so that's disappointing. Again, this is just like the BM869S, but it comes with the Greenlee lifetime limited warranty, and it comes with the green boot instead of a red boot, and it's easily available in the US, and so I'd say they're equivalent meters. And if especially if you're a professional and the warranty is important to you, you might want to get this. And if it's going to be your only meter, you might want to get it because of the warranty. For pretty much the same reason I'm not keeping the Bryman version of this, I'm not keeping this. It's a good meter. These two meters are good meters. Very accurate. At least in my tests, they showed they met their accuracy, and their accuracy specifications are above average in these meters. But For me, it's more operational stuff, because if I want a really accurate meter, I got my Keithley bench meter. But anyway, I'm still not keeping those. Well, now we come to the Unity UT181A. And it was $400.99 at Amazon the last time I looked. And I got it from Unity Direct. The only concern I have is that Unity Direct has now changed its name. And I remember telling people, make sure you get Unity Direct, Unity Direct. Well, they changed their name. And I can no longer find the 18-month warranty statement anymore. So Unity has stepped up its marketing in the U.S. and it's stepped up its Amazon store, but it changed things. So you kind of just make sure you're getting it from whatever the current Unity store is, that instead of from some third party. And let's see, this has the 3.5-inch color screen, which is really nice. It stores and can graph data locally on the meter, and it graphs work faster than on the Fluke 289. It includes the USB cable to connect to PCs. Of course, it only has PC software, no Mac software. But the PC software runs under Parallels, under Windows. You can buy a Bluetooth adapter, and it's reasonably priced. It's like under $30, I think. I should know. I bought 2 of them, but because they're standardized, so these USB cables and these Bluetooth adapters work on many of the Unity meters. So that is very handy. The downside is you can't use the meter while you're recharging the battery. And a viewer pointed out that also the battery is proprietary. So someday you're not going to be able to get the battery. So that may shorten the practical life of your meter if Unity stops making that battery. So that's disappointing, because there's lots of standardized batteries they could have run it off of, and there's lots of other guys who use rechargeable batteries and use a standard battery that could be replaced easily. It missed its accuracy specifications on 2 ranges, the 1 milliamp AC range and the 490 volt DC reading. It was off a tiny bit, but you know my rule, if it's off at all, it is off. So I counted against the meter. Now again, do you count Unity bad for Unity? Well, no. It's just 1 meter. I can't test all of them. I should be testing 10 or 20 of the same meter to make sure how it really works, but I can't afford to do that. And so I just have to go by the 1 meter sample. So I really can't ding him for that. It probably is just my sample. So if you want a graphing meter, you definitely want to look at this. It's, it's kind of on the expensive side for a meter, but, especially for a Chinese meter. But Unity is really trying to move up scale. And so, I find that this meter, so far, I like it. I like the screen on it, and it does pretty good in accuracy. It does fall behind in some cases, but I like using it, so I'm keeping this one. Now we come to the Fluke 189. I paid $650 for it on eBay. It was a new old stock open box, and I really wanted to try this meter, but I realized that most people aren't going to go out and try to buy one of these because you can't buy them anymore. Well, anyway, this meter, nearest I can reckon, this meter is at least 16 years old, and it met all the accuracy specifications as stated in the manual and all the measurements I took. And that's a pretty good accomplishment. Of course, my Fluke 179 pretty much did almost the same thing. It's a 20-year-old meter, and it met all but one of the accuracy specifications. And it holds up pretty good. So, Too bad I don't have any old other of these meters, but a lot of these meters haven't been around that long. You can have extensive customization. It kind of has a second display that's tinier, that shows tiny numbers and letters, and you can use it with the customization function, kind of like the 121GW, and so that is pretty nice because you can customize a lot of things. Of course, the downside I mentioned is it was discontinued in 2008. So, and the PC interface is extra cost option, which I didn't get. I essentially have what I need to do that except for one part. But I really can't get a hold of that one part at a reasonable price. So I have not tested the PC interface. But that isn't my purpose for this meter. It basically does for me what the Bryman 789 did. So that's essentially why I'm selling the 789, because the Fluke 189 took its place. You really can't buy this because it's been discontinued for 16 years. But I think it's the best user interface that Fluke ever had. Why they discontinued this meter, and I don't know why. I think this is a really good meter. If they would have come out with a more modern version of it, but I don't know what they would have done. Improved the specifications, but for 16 years ago, this was a good meter, and I like the user interface of it. You can have a setup very similar to the 121GW, and I'm keeping it. I realize that most of you won't be able to buy one because you got to get them off of eBay. This one was a new old stock open box, and it was I probably paid more for this than it originally list priced for, which may sound crazy, but I really like this meter. I saw reviews of it and I read about it, and I go, I got to have one of these, and I'm glad I did, because if I didn't have this meter, I'd be keeping this Bryman. Okay, I definitely would have kept this one if I didn't have this one. But since I have this one now, I can sell that one. Well, the last meter on the list is the Fluke 289. The current price, last time I checked, was $765.51 at teequipment.com. Let's see. It had the best accuracy specifications in a number of ranges. It has easy access to change the fuses. It did, on downside, miss 5 different readings. It missed its accuracy specification. Now that, I have to clarify, that was the first time I tested it. I did do a second test when I was testing all the 50,000 and 60,000 count meters the second time, and it actually corrected most of those. They didn't show up. Now there was months apart between that, so it could have been that the meter kind of aged into more accuracy. It could have been something I did wrong, but since one test showed 5 missed accuracies, I'm still going to go by that, because even though now that I retested it, those anomalies went away. The other downside is it used 6 AA batteries and you only get 100 hours. Now, I've been experimenting with the rechargeable batteries, and they mostly work, but the metering doesn't really accurately show you how much time you have left, so they just suddenly go bad. But outside of that, they don't seem to be causing much of a problem. So the rechargeables don't bother me, that I always have a second set sitting there ready to go. This really is targeted towards the corporate and professional market. Now, what they really push is this bundle where they have the meter, the PC interface, which normally costs extra, and the Bluetooth interface, which normally costs extra, and they put it in this bundle. And I got that bundle, but I got it at a better price because the vendor made a mistake on having something in stock, and they took my money and charged my card, and then they didn't deliver. And we had a little discussion about it, and they said, well, for a much lower price, we will give you this bundle because we have that in stock. And I was going to eventually buy the Bluetooth interface, so I took their special deal. But that's not normal. So the lowest price I've been able to find on that bundle is $1,229.99. But if you're a professional or in the corporate world, you're going to get one of these. If you're a well-heeled ham, you might get one too. Or if you're obsessed with meters, and you're not that well-heeled, but you would rather have a meter than go out and buy a new radio accessory, you might want to buy this too. But I'm pretty sure you're all going to want to stick with the lower price meters. But I wanted to include this because I did test it, and I actually was going to sell it, and I changed my mind. This bad boy, he's not for consumers. This is something that you would buy if you're a professional or mainly probably corporate places buy these. I'm keeping it because I originally wasn't going to keep it, and then the more I used it and the more I had it comparing it to other meters, even though in the beginning it screwed up on about 5 measurements, and now that it's aged a little bit, it seems to have settled down, and when I retested it against these other meters, it was a lot better. I don't know what that's about, but one day I needed to measure something over 1,000 volts, and not much over, but almost all my other meters, as soon as you get over 1,000, they go beep, 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 go and do the OL for overload or whatever, overrange. This guy didn't. He said, oh yeah, that's 1,040 volts. And so, it's kind of a screwy reason to keep it, but the other reason is I don't think I'll get my value out of it. I won't get the money out of it if I resell this, because I bought it in a bundle that most people won't buy, and the vendor made a mistake about having something in stock, and they essentially offered me the bundle for a big discount because that they had in stock, and so I went with it. So I don't think I'll make my money back by selling it, so I might as well keep it. And so anyway, that's what it is. Out of the 8 50 to 60,000 count meters, I'm keeping 4 of them. I'm keeping this guy, keeping this guy, keeping this guy, keeping this guy. Now, these guys, there's absolutely nothing wrong with these if they meet your need. If you don't need logging, these two, they're fine. This one has dB scale. It costs a little more, but you gotta buy it from out of town, you might say. You gotta buy it from EU or Asia. This one, it's interesting because you can buy it off of Amazon and get it shipped US and get their 30-day return, or you can buy it from the EV blog store. And it's actually cheaper, including the shipping, to buy it from there than it does to buy it from Amazon. But some people, it's just more convenient to buy from Amazon. And I tried buying this from Amazon, but they lost it. So that's when I decided to go with the EV blog store and found out it was actually cheaper than I would have paid on Amazon. Let's see. Again, these two, if I didn't have a bench meter that was more accurate, I'd probably keep one of these. And I would probably keep the Greenlee because it has a lifetime warranty. Well, they call it the Greenlee Limited Lifetime Warranty, but it's still a pretty good warranty. But again, the reason I'm not keeping these is I have bench meters that are if I need accuracy. But if I only had a handheld meter and I wanted the most accurate meter in many ranges, you'll see in the reviews, if you look them up, these are pretty good. And I haven't had a problem with Bryman, but like I said, I just, with having 4 meters already, I sure don't need these other 4. So I'm going to sell these. Probably at a local ham fest, so I don't want to mess with eBay, because that's a hassle. I've sold stuff on eBay before, and it was just, and now that they report everything to the IRS, it's just even more of a hassle. So anyway, hope that helps you looking at your 50,000 count meters and 60,000 count. You know I didn't review Hioki, and people have asked for that, and I cannot see paying $600 for a meter that isn't third-party safety tested. And I'll just say that all of these 8 meters are third-party safety tested. You know, some of them are done by ETL, some of them are done by CSA, some of them are done by UL, but they're all tested. You know, and you'd want, for paying as much money as you do for these meters, you'd want them to be tested. It's like, why would you spend that much money? I've never spent more than $98 on an untested meter. I just don't think it's worth it. I'm just going to keep these 4 and sell the others at the local ham fest. And, you know, it may take me a couple of years to get them all sold, but that's all right. I love going to ham fest, sitting around and selling something once in a while. And if you buy a table, you always got a chair you can sit on. If these aren't your cup of tea or they're a little more too expensive, our next review is going to be 10 to 20,000 count meters. I've broken that up into 2 sections. One is the third-party safety tested. I only have 4 of those meters. And the other is I have about 8 of untested meters, all under $100, that are 10 or 20,000 count. And those I'm going to test just like I do these, but I'm not going to recommend any of them, because that's just, you know, my little sticking point is the third-party safety testing. But I've talked to a couple of my buddies who say, well, it doesn't matter to them. They want the economical meters. They want to know how well they perform. So I'm going to do the economical untested meters and do them as a group and show you how they perform. And just coincidentally, they're all in the 10 to 20,000 count, which I find interesting. Oh, I remember what I was going to tell you. The Hioki, I can't see paying that much money for an untested meter. I know the Japanese think they don't need to test it, have it third-party tested, because, you know, they're a Japanese company. They're excellent. But I'm just not going to do it. And then there's a French meter. It's a 7,000. I can't remember the letters, but it's from France, and it's, of course, in that, you know, $600-700 range. And it's not third-party safety tested either. But, you know, France, they're going to figure if it's got the CE mark, it's good enough for them. But it's not for me, because the CE mark is self-regulated and self-tested. It isn't independently tested. It may be good enough for the EU, but I just don't think so. Oh, and there was another, Keysights. Oh, that's a whole nother. I'm not going to review any higher-end Keysight meters. I reviewed one Keysight meter that's coming up, and that's in the 10 to 20,000 count third-party safety tested meters. And, of course, the rest of them are like Bryman, because, I mean, who else makes those kind of meters? Because Fluke doesn't have any 10,000, 20,000 count meters. I don't count the 87 V Max or the 87V as a 20,000 count. Because when you put it in the 20,000 count mode, states right in the manual, it isn't any more accurate. You actually take the +1 or +2 that they have, you know, like it'll say 0.05% +1. Well, they say you take that +1 and multiply it times 10 if you put it in the 20,000 count mode. So it's definitely, you know, you get an extra digit, but it's actually useless. I'm just you know, kind of annoyed that Fluke put that gimmick in there, but I guess what are you going to do? They had to do something to say they have a 20,000 count meter. This is Tom, N at FDY, saying take it easy, and 73.